It is 3 in the morning, and for some reason you are wide awake. Not just awake, you are someone else entirely. The things that felt manageable 12 hours ago now feel catastrophic. That text you sent feels unforgivable. That career choice feels like a death sentence. You start questioning everything. Your relationships, your purpose, whether anyone actually knows who you really are, and it all feels urgent. But then morning comes, and somehow it all feels manageable again. Like a fever broke while you were sleeping. You know exactly who this is. The friend who gives you everything, but the moment you cross a line, they vanish. No drama, just gone. And almost nobody talks about what is actually happening underneath. You know exactly who these people are, though. You are the person who writes texts at midnight you'd never send at noon, who spirals into existential dread over something that won't matter by breakfast. The one who feels everything more intensely when the world goes quiet. Not because you are dramatic, because your brain is doing something very specific. Let's go back. Because niceness doesn't come from nowhere, and in most cases, it didn't start as a personality trait. It started as a survival strategy. And here is what nobody tells you. It is not that they don't feel the pain. It is that they feel it so deeply they had to build another door out of it. There is a region called the prefrontal cortex. It handles impulse control, long-term planning, emotional regulation. Think of it as the adult in the room, and by 3 a.m., that adult has clocked out. Research shows prefrontal activity drops significantly after sustained wakefulness. Your rational brain is running on fumes, but your emotional brain doesn't clock out. The amygdala, your brain's threat detector, actually gets louder when you are sleep-deprived. Psychologists call this the effect gap. The difference between your emotional state and your rational capacity widens as the night goes on. In plain English, your feelings get bigger and your ability to manage them gets smaller. At the same time, that is not a recipe for clarity. And that explains the first thing that happens. The confessions, the texts, the sudden urge to tell someone exactly how you feel with zero filter. During the day, your prefrontal cortex edits everything. It adds qualifiers. It calculates consequences. It asks, should I really say this? At 3 a.m., that editor is gone. What comes out feels raw and real. But it is not unfiltered truth. It is unregulated emotion. There is a massive difference. And here is what nobody tells you. There is a second mechanism running at the same time. Something neuroscientists call the default mode network. The default mode network activates when you are not focused on anything external. It is the part of your brain that wanders, that ruminates, that replays old conversations. During the day, you are busy. Work, errands, conversations. The default mode network barely gets a word in. But at 3 a.m., nothing's competing for your attention. So it takes over, and what it does best is time travel. It drags you backward into every mistake and forward into every worst-case scenario. Psychologists call this rumination, the repetitive, passive focus on your own distress. And it is not problem-solving. That is the trap. It feels productive. It feels like you are figuring something out. But rumination is a closed loop. You are not reaching conclusions. You are rehearsing pain. And at 3 a.m., with no prefrontal cortex to interrupt the cycle, rumination can run for hours, unchecked, unquestioned, unresolved. And let's talk about why everything feels heavier at night. Because it is not just brain chemistry, it is your environment. During the day, you are surrounded by noise, movement, other people. Distraction is constant, and distraction is actually a form of emotional regulation. At 3 a.m., the distractions disappear. No texts coming in, no one to call, just you and your thoughts in a room that suddenly feels very small. Psychologists call this stimulus reduction. When external input drops, internal input amplifies. Your brain fills the silence with itself, and what it chooses to fill it with is rarely kind. It picks the unsolved problems, the unresolved relationships, the things you've been too busy to feel. There is this weird paradox, though. The quiet ones are often the best communicators in the room, and that sounds contradictory, but it is not. Because communication isn't about volume, it is about signal-to-noise ratio, and the quiet, smart person has spent their entire life optimizing for signal. By 3 a.m., cortisol is at its absolute lowest, and low cortisol doesn't mean low stress. It means low resilience to stress. The same problem that felt like a mild inconvenience at 2 in the afternoon now feels like the end of the world. Not because the problem changed, because your chemical ability to cope with it bottomed out. 3 mu hasn't gained clarity. 3MU has lost the cushion that softens hard things. And this is where it gets personal, because there is a reason 3 a.m. hits some people harder than others, and it is about attachment. If you grew up in a home where nighttime meant uncertainty, where the house got quieter but your anxiety got louder, 3 a.m. carries extra weight. Psychologists call it conditioned hyperarousal. Your nervous system learned early that nighttime equals danger, unpredictability, being alone with feelings nobody was coming to help with. In plain English, your body remembers what your mind might have forgotten. And at 3 a.m., when the world goes quiet, that old alarm system wakes right up. It is why some people can sleep through anything and others lie awake cataloging every sound. It is not insomnia, it is vigilance, learned a long time ago. So the person you become at 3 a.m. isn't a stranger. It is a younger version of you, the one who learned that silence means something bad is coming. Underneath the adaptability and exhaustion and dual identities, there is something your generation carries that nobody else quite understands. Let's talk about what actually helps, because this isn't about broken people. This is about people who built something remarkable out of something terrible. That text you almost sent, the emotion was real, but the urgency, the catastrophic framing, the certainty that everything's ruined, that is the prefrontal deficit talking. That career crisis at 2:45, the dissatisfaction is real, but the conviction that you've ruined your life, that is cortisol at its lowest whispering in your ear. The loneliness when the house goes quiet, absolutely real. But the story that nobody cares that you'll always feel this way, that is the default mode network unchecked. The proof is in the morning. The people do care. The career isn't over. The text wasn't that bad. You just couldn't see it at 3 a.m. And knowing that doesn't make the feelings disappear. This isn't about dismissing what you feel. It is about understanding the context. Your brain at 3 a.m. is like a courtroom where the judge went home, but the prosecution is still arguing. Every point sounds convincing because nobody's cross-examining. The people who handle 3 a.m. best aren't the ones who feel less. They've learned to say, I hear you, but I am not making decisions right now. Not because the feelings don't matter, because the conditions for interpreting them are terrible. You wouldn't read a map in a hurricane. Don't read your life at 3 a.m. Write it down. Let 3MU speak. Just don't let 3MU make the phone calls. Because here's what happens almost every single time. Morning comes, cortisol rises. The prefrontal cortex boots back up. The default mode network quiets down. And that thing that felt like the end of the world 6 hours ago, it is still there, but it is manageable. It has edges. It has context. The problem didn't shrink. You grew back to your full size. That is what daylight does. Your neurochemistry came back online, and you'll probably laugh at yourself. Wonder how the same thought could feel world-ending 6 hours ago, and almost silly now. And the most powerful thing you can do with this knowledge is simple. Give yourself permission to wait. Wait to send the text. Wait to make the decision. Wait to believe the story your brain is selling you at 3 in the morning. Not because you are wrong to feel it. Because you deserve to feel it with your whole brain present, not just the scared parts. 3MU is real, but 3MU is working with bad information, low resources, and a nervous system that thinks the silence is a threat. You are not two different people. You are one person experiencing two very different chemical realities. And the braver version waits for morning. So next time your brain decides it is 3 a.m. and time to audit your entire life, remember, the judge went home. Court's not in session. Take the note, feel the feeling, and wait for sunrise before you decide what any of it means. Because the sunrise always comes, and the version of you that greets it is the one worth listening to. If this hit home, if you've ever been hijacked by your own brain at 3 in the morning, please subscribe. And to support these deep dives, hit that join button. I would genuinely appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next one.